Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 7th Facebook Live. Today, I'll take you through some updates from UBP, and we'll talk about a very important piece of current news of today, George Floyd, and what you can do. Just to get you reoriented if you haven't tuned in with us before, my name is Linet Mera. I'm the Executive Director of the Unconscious Bias Project. We're a small Bay Area nonprofit dedicated to providing creative solutions to bias and unconscious bias, grounded in evidence-based approaches. This series of lives that we started during the shelter-in-place is called the Together Against Bias campaign. And what we're doing with Together Against Bias is to help provide free resources to reduce and counter bias in our everyday, in our institutions and our systems. We've done a whole series of resources that we put together on our website. And we are continuing the conversation past just the campaign, one, because we are still in shelter in place, and two, because we need to keep talking about these issues. So if you have tuned in with us before, you'll notice that I don't have Selena Martinez helpfully putting links to everything I'm saying right now in the comments. I will try to do that as much as possible. She is starting a new job, at least for a few months. So good luck, Selena. Thank you so much for being an inspiration to put ourselves out there online in front of everybody to try to get our resources out there. So to start off, I wanted to give you a little bit of UBP news. We were really successful in our dance party and benefit. Huge thank you to Ome DJ. If you haven't checked her out, go check her out right now. She's on Facebook. She's on Instagram. That's OMEDJ. She's fantastic. If you have a nonprofit, if you're trying to raise money for anything, contact her. She'll help you meet your goals. She's really dynamic. She gave us a really good time, and we were able to build community, which was the second part that I meant to say about Together Against Bias. And that's building community, being there for each other, no matter the ethnicity, the race, the gender, the age. We're coming together to help each other during this time. And hopefully these connections that we're building at this very critical moment will continue, and we'll continue to build them, to strengthen them, and to come together to act. So yes, our benefit went really well. Thank you so much to everybody who was able to make it, or who bought tickets even if you weren't able to make it, and who donated. Thank you so much. For UBP, we're going through some big changes. We have amazing group of volunteers that I work with. I'm so grateful for every single one of them, and each one of us is going through different things right now due to the pandemic. So we are changing and shifting the way we'll be engaging with folks. So what does this actually mean? We'll see a little bit less of us on your social media. You'll get less emails if you're signed up to our mailing list. And you will still get our resources. You still get our information, our engagement. I will, if you want to check us out on our website, go to unconsciousbiasproject.org. We are also, you can also find that link in our Facebook profile. And Selena is there. Oh my gosh, Selena. I think that's Selena. Thank you, Selena. I can't believe she's on. Sorry, I got distracted. So happy to have Selena with me for today. Yes, please go check out the website. There's lots of free resources there. If you have a resource, if you are a partner, if you want to partner with us to record a podcast to amplify your voice, we're currently seeking to amplify voices that are of folks that are being affected by the coronavirus pandemic through racism, xenophobia, and inequities that have been worsened during the pandemic. And I just saw a note from Selena. Yay, Selena. Yeah, so we're looking to amplify folks who are being affected, and we're also seeking to amplify people who are providing solutions that are either they're building community to help support their communities, or they're providing action like organizing in petitions, or they are a business that is centered on equity and inclusion and helping people and building that community. Okay, so today I want to read something to you. This comes from Steve Locke's blog. I just posted it into the comments. And this is an account from a professor, a Black professor, who was just stepping out of the school to grab lunch, I think it was a burrito. And I'll read you a little bit here just to get us started to talk about George Floyd. And yes, I am not Black. I am a Latina. But as a Latina, I can still amplify voices of Black people. Okay, and that's something that you can do too. Okay, so here it goes. This is what I wore to work today. On my way to get a burrito before work, I was detained by the police, and you can see him in sunglasses. He has his lanyard. You know, looks actually pretty standard college professor. He has a blazer, some dark khakis, some cool tennis shoes, a gray hoodie, and he has a knit cap, a pretty colorful knit cap. He says, I noticed a police car in the public lot behind Center Street. As I was walking away from my car, the cruiser followed me. I walked down Center Street and was about to cross over to the burrito place, and the officer got out of the car. So if you're watching right now, and if you do this, you just you go out for lunch, you don't have to think about it, right? It's just the place across the street that you always go out to lunch to, right? Give me a like if you've been there. And the cop says, hey, my man. And he unsnapped the holster of his gun. What would you do? Right? What would you do? You see a cop, they unsnap the holster of your gun. Well, if you're Black, you've probably either had this talk with your parents or had a mentor or somebody tell you what to do. And so what this college professor did is he took his hands out of his pockets and said, yes, where are you coming from? Home. Where is home? Dedham. How did you get here? Also, I could be mispronouncing these names. I drove. So this is again in Steve's voice. He was next to me now. 2 other police cars pulled up. I was standing in front of the bank across the street from the burrito place. I was going to get lunch before I taught my 1:30 class. There were cops all around me. I said nothing. I looked at the officer who addressed me. He was white, stocky, bearded. You weren't over there, were you? He pointed down Center Street towards Hyde Square. No, I came from Dedham. What's your address? I told him. We had someone matching your description just try to break into a woman's house. And then a second police officer stood next to him, white, tall, bearded. 2 police cruisers passed and would continue to circle the block for the 35 minutes he was standing across the street from the burrito place. You fit the description, the officer said. Black male, knit hat, puffy coat. Do you have identification? If you remember, he's not wearing a puffy coat. It's in my wallet. May I reach into my pocket and get my wallet? Let me just pause here. Be honest, how many of you listening right now or coming across this video right now would know to do this, to ask, may I reach into my pocket and get my wallet? Okay, I'll continue. Yeah. This is Steve. I handed him my license. I told him it did not have my current address. He walked over to a police car. The other cop, taller, wearing sunglasses, told me that I fit the description of someone who broke into a woman's house, right down to the knit cap. And he talks about his friend, Barbara Sullivan, who knit a cap for him. She knitted it in pinks and browns and blues, oranges, and lime green. No one has a hat like this. It doesn't fit any description that anyone would have. I looked at the second cop. I clasped my hands in front of me to stop them from shaking. So at this point, I would be in tears, right? Yeah, Allison, totally. I would not know. I would be not just shaking. I would be crying hysterical, probably. For the record, I said to the cop, I'm not a criminal. I'm a college professor. He was literally wearing his faculty ID around his neck. Very, very visible. The first cop says, you fit the description, so we just have to check it out, and handed him back his license. We have the victim, and we need her to take a look at you to see if you are the person. Okay, I need a second to take a little bit of tea. Okay, stay with me here. Again, in his words, it was at this moment that I knew that I was probably going to die. I'm not being dramatic when I say this. I was not going to get into a police car. I was not going to present myself to some victim. I was not going to let someone tell the cops that I was not guilty when I already told them that I had nothing to do with any robbery. I was not going to let them take me anywhere, because if they did, the chance that I was going to be accused of something I did not do rose exponentially. I knew this in my heart. I was not going anywhere with these cops, and I was not going to let some white woman decide whether or not I was a criminal, especially after I told them that I was not a criminal. This meant that I was going to resist arrest. This meant that I was not going to let the police put their hands on me. If you are wondering why people don't go with the police, I hope this explains it for you. Something weird happens when you're on the street detained by the police. People look at you like you're a criminal. The police are detaining you, so clearly you must have done something. Otherwise, they wouldn't have you. No one made eye contact with me. I was hoping that someone I knew would walk down the street or come out of one of the shops or get off the 39 bus or come out of JP Licks and say to these cops, and if you have kids around, this is the moment when, if it's important that language not be adult, you should move them away or turn off the sound or plug in your headphones. So just somebody to tell these cops, that's Steve Locke. What the fuck are you detaining him for? The cops decided that they would bring the victim to come view me on the street. They asked me to wait. I said nothing. I stood still. Okay, I'm going to pause there for a second. Yes, if you are in or around or next to police and police are questioning you and you're surrounded by police, what is your immediate assumption? That person is probably innocent? No. But this is where you can use the training, the conscious bias training, and think to yourself, maybe that person needs help. Okay, and we'll come back to that towards the end of the story. Okay. Thanks for cooperating, the second cop said. This is probably nothing, but it's our job, and you do fit the description. 5'11", black male, 160 pounds. But you're a little more than that, it had. A little more than 160. Thanks for that, I thought. An older white woman walked behind me and up to the second cop. She turned and looked at me and then back at him. You guys sure are busy today. I noticed a black woman further down the block. She was small and concerned. She was watching what was going on. I focused on her red coat. I slowed my breathing. I looked at her from time to time. I thought, don't leave, sister. Please don't leave. Okay. I just want you to see that. Let's pause again for a second. So there is the one person that does decide to engage with him, not with the cops, not saying, oh, let me try to diffuse the situation by saying hi to the cops. No, there's somebody that's engaging with him, and she's looking at him, right? You, in moments where there are police involved, the first thing to do is to make sure that you're safe. And you don't even have to speak. You just have to be there and connect with that person that's the target, okay? That's all you have to do. Okay, we'll come back to the story. The first cop said, "Where do you teach?" "Massachusetts College of Art and Design." I tugged at the lanyard that had my ID. "How long have you been teaching there?" 13 years. We stood in silence for about 10 more minutes. An unmarked police car pulled up. The first cop went over to talk to the driver. The driver kept looking at me as a cop spoke to him. I looked directly at the driver. He got out of the car. "I'm Detective Cardoza. I appreciate your cooperation." I said nothing. "I'm sure these officers told you what is going on?" "They did." "Where are you coming from?" "From my home in Dedham." "How did you get here?" "I drove." "Where is your car?" "It's in the lot behind Bukhara." I pointed up Center Street. "Okay," the detective said. "We're going to let you go. Do you have a car key you can show me?" "Yes," I said. I'm going to reach into my pocket and pull out my car key. "Okay." I showed him the key to my car. The cops thanked me for my cooperation. I nodded and turned to go. "Sorry for screwing up your lunch break," the second cop said. I walked back to my car, away from the burrito place. I saw the woman in red. "Thank you," I said to her. "Thank you for staying." "Are you okay?" she said. Her small, beautiful face was lined with concern. "Not really. I'm really shook up, and I have to get to work." So this is a happy resolution, right? He didn't get arrested. He wasn't pinned down. He didn't pass away. He wasn't incarcerated. This is a good outcome. And I want you to please, if you can, just keep listening and or go to the link that I posted of the original story to learn what happens later. So I'm going to skip a little bit. I put my head down and walked to my car. My colleague was in her shared office and she was able to calm me down. I had about 45 minutes until my class began and I had to teach. I forgot the lesson I had planned. I forget the schedule. I couldn't think about how to do my job. I thought about the fact my word counted for nothing. They didn't believe that I wasn't a criminal. They had to find out. My word wasn't enough for them. My ID was not enough for them. My handmade, one-of-a-kind knit hat was an object of suspicion. My Ralph Lauren, well, okay, I hadn't read that part specifically before, quilted blazer was only a puffy coat. That white woman could just walk up to a cop and talk about me like I was an object for regard. I wanted to go back and spit in their faces. The cops are probably deeply satisfied at how well they handled the interaction, how they didn't escalate the situation, how they were respectful and polite. I imagine sitting in the back of a police car while a white woman decides if I'm a criminal or not, if I looked guilty being detained by the cops. Imagine how vile I become sitting in a cruiser. I knew I could not let that happen to me. I knew if it were to happen, I would be dead. Nothing I am, nothing I do, nothing I have means anything because I fit the description. I had to confess to my students that I was a bit out of it today, and I asked them to bear with me. I had to teach. After class, I was supposed to go to the openings for First Friday. I went home. So, yeah, this was a good outcome, right? This person didn't have to resist arrest. This person still endured significant psychological trauma because of the event. And I want you to picture just for a moment that your whole life, you can't do anything at all without the fear of being harassed, arrested, picked out of a lineup, examined as a thief, a vandal, a murderer, and anything because of absolutely nothing you did but be yourself, right? This is at the core of what it is. And it comes, you know, why does this happen? We've talked about this in previous lives. This comes from the history of oppression. This comes from a history of slavery. This comes from colonialism. You can see this in so many other countries as well. The United States isn't alone, but United States does have one of the highest amount of incarcerated people in the entire world. This is a real problem. It hasn't disappeared. You can't just make it go away by saying you don't see color. That's not a solution. We have to see color in order to do something about it. We have to recognize people's stories and believe them for what they say. We have to understand that when they say, this is my lived story, this is my history, this is what I have to deal with on an everyday, this is my fear, right? Waking up, going to work, having a burrito, right? That you just have to deal with all this time. We have to recognize that it's not, oh, it was just a one-time thing, or, oh, this is just too bad. No, it's a systemic problem, and we can do something about this. Now, at Unconscious Bias Project, when we give our workshops, we help people think about everything from the personal, the interpersonal, organizational, institutional, and then systemic. And there is always work that we can do to reduce our personal biases. I will talk now about George Floyd and, you know, things that you can do. You can read, you can amplify stories, you can sign petitions. These are things that you can do on a personal level. You can always, always, always take that second, that 2 seconds, 3 seconds to double think, to just re-examine what your initial impulse was for anything. If you're, you know, sitting on the hiring seat, if you're about to interact with a new coworker, if you see somebody being detained by police, if you walk by somebody on the street, if you, you know, see something on TV, take that second to examine that immediate reaction and ask others to do the same, right? If you examine your immediate reaction, it's more likely than not that you have some sort of bias. You can do something about that, okay? And that's something that you can work on all the time, every day, any day. And we have lots of tools for that. You can replace a stereotypical thought with a counter stereotype. You can adjust, so like reshape the stereotypical thought so that it's no longer stereotypical. You can do lots of things personally. But at this time, I urge you to act, to be vocal, to be outspoken. If you haven't done this before, don't worry, you're not alone. There's several people that have always wanted to act and never knew how. I can give you some resources for that. First off, you can call. There are, oops, is that posting? Yes, great. Make calls. There's a phone number I posted that will walk you through prompts to get you connected to as many officials as possible to seek justice for George Floyd. There's a petition that needs thousands and thousands of more signatures. Share the petition. If you can donate, I will post 3 different funds. Hopefully the links show up. If the links don't show up, then once the links don't show up, okay, I'll try to post individual links. Okay, so this is for Minnesota Freedom Fund, and they are bailing out those who have been arrested for protesting. Uh-oh. My camera just died. Let me fix that really fast. Okay, that should have fixed it. Okay, so Minnesota Freedom Fund bails out those who have been arrested for protesting. There is also the Black Visions Collective Movement and Legal Fund. And these are folks that are Black, trans, and queer-led, based in Minnesota, supporting protests. If you want additional resources, oh, that's right, sorry. There's also a GoFundMe for the family. They've passed their goal, but I know they will probably need more funds that they've asked for legal representation. Unfortunately, folks that seek to find justice in these times often get harassed after the fact, or their houses vandalized, terrible things like that. So even if they have met their GoFundMe goal, I encourage you to donate some more if you can. If you cannot, if you don't have the funds, share these resources. I recommend checking out or donating to NAACP. If none of these sound like things that you want to do, what I recommend is not to ask your Black friends what to do to help. They are probably going through a very hard time right now. You can give words of support, possibly, and don't be hurt if they don't need them or are not receptive to them. What's most important is that you act. It doesn't matter if you get recognized. It doesn't matter if nobody sees what you did. It's important that you act. Okay, so what else is what is another good way to act? I encourage you to speak up. If you hear something or see somebody write something on social media, speak up. It is so important to be visible online right now. I know it's hard, but trust me, it just takes one person to say, that's wrong. If you don't have the immediate argument available, it's okay. You can just say that's wrong, right? Or that's not okay, or please delete that. And if it's on your page, you can delete it. Please do speak up. If you do happen to be, sorry, I'm just going to find something. If you do happen to be in a space where you are seeing something happen with police, you can record it. You are legally allowed to do so. And I'm going to post guidelines from Teen Vogue. Teen Vogue, who would have thought, right? From Teen Vogue on how to stay safe while filming. Again, at every one of these points, whether you are bearing witness, whether you are filming, whether you are just being somebody for the person that is the target to connect with, like this person in the red coat in our account earlier, just be safe, right? That is always important. Check in with the person that is being targeted, and also check in with yourself, seek resources. It's very important. If you are listening to this, you're watching me, and you are Black or brown, I highly recommend you find community. reach out to your resources, reach out to your family. If you don't have family, you don't have resources, there are lots of amazing nonprofit groups out there. I want to give an early shout out to Be-Imaginative.com. They're an amazing collective of artists, thinkers, creators that have come together to help process the experience that their community goes through. They have an amazing video that they've put together as part of a project, Mothers of Our Ancestors, which is very timely right now and seeks to amplify the voices of and share as truthfully and as cleanly as possible of the mothers that have lost their children to police violence. I personally feel, obviously very, very affected by this. And our organization, the Unconscious Bias Project, really wants to say we're here, we are acting, we are in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. We are, outraged, saddened, upset by these things that just keep happening. And I want to say that now more than ever, we're in times of high uncertainty, times of high fear. Like we've been saying, the pandemic worsens everything. And I think this is just one of these cases of how that can occur. And unfortunately, it ended in someone losing their lives. And we say no. We say that this is not okay. And we urge people to act. Yes, there's a time for self-reflection. Yes, there's a time to learn through books. If you're going to read one book, only one book, we really recommend How to Be Anti-Racist. And if you do want to do, personal reading, we highly encourage you to read. Maybe you can engage in dialogue about this, but we really recommend you engage in dialogue about the book, about your learnings with professionals. If you can in any way get into a workshop, get into a supportive space to discuss your learnings, that is the best place to do it. It's very easy to say, oh, I took one workshop, I read one book, so I'm good, right? It's often not the case. We have to dig deeper. We have to see within ourselves what are the changes we need to make. And then we need to think about how we can integrate into the community in a way that you're actually acting against racism, that you're acting against oppression, that you're acting against these historic and systemic problems. So we really encourage you to seek professionals, have dialogue with professionals around this. It's very easy, on the internet with our friends to stay within our echo chamber. I know I'm guilty of this myself. And the best way to do it is to really reach out to professionals. Whew, okay, that was quite a bit. Please stay safe. I know there's lots of folks that are organizing protests right now. Keep your masks on, keep social distancing as much as possible. Demonstrations are a natural result of not being heard. And we support those who are demonstrating. We want everybody to please stay safe. Please believe people when they tell you that they are suffering. Don't question their stories. Believe them, amplify them, act now. Okay, and with that, I'll log off. Oh, I did want to say our weekly lives are now going to become bi-weekly. to sort of give ourselves a little more bandwidth and space. And so I won't see you here next week, but I'll see you the week after. My next theme, I hope to be around the trans experience. And we'll always keep talking about all these different topics. There's never, unfortunately, never a dull moment, never lack of work to be done. So thank you for listening and tuning in, and have a great weekend. We'll see you again soon.